What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Marriage and Medicine. So today we will be talking about family and in-laws in particular, but sisters and those kind of things as well. So first off, I just want to say, Mom and Dad, I love y'all on both sides. I love you.
But I was going to say both moms
both
and dads.
moms and dads. I love you.
We're fortunate though, because we have really good families on both sides. We have great parents, and in turn, that made great in-laws. So I know there's some people out there, they have
it's rough
mess to deal with their in-laws or their parents or whatever, but thankfully we've been very blessed that
you sure you
we don't have any of that.
You sure you wanted to marry into that? I'm sure you saw signs beforehand. You sure?
Yeah? I'm glad we don't have any of that drama to have to worry about at all. But family is just another kind of like a piece to the puzzle that you have to fit in when you're trying to balance your work life and your personal life. So these are kind of some things that we did throughout residency, and I'm sure it will continue to a degree now that TJ's an attending. But one thing is holidays. So for us, we don't live by either of our families. So his family is about 4 hours away. And my family is about 7 hours away. So, and then of course, we have a toddler. So that adds another hour on to the trip. Yeah. So, for us, if Christmas comes around or Thanksgiving or whatever, and he happens to have time off, we have to travel. Either we have to travel or they have to travel, but somebody's got to travel. So what we would typically do is if he had, I would say, extended time off, a week or longer, we would typically choose to go to my family's just because it's a longer drive and it's a longer amount of time to get to spend there before you have to make the drive again. If he had a shorter amount of time where it's maybe 3 to 4 days, we would typically go to his side of the family because it's closer, and it wasn't a quick turnaround to where you feel I just drove 8 hours yesterday, now I got to do it today. So that's just something to consider if you have family that's further away, or maybe one side is further than the other. That typically worked best for us, and it didn't feel I don't know what the word is.
I didn't feel like it was unfair in terms of we spent more time with one side of the family than the other. I think we did a good job of being able to see both sides equally during residency. And
it's a little hard though, because in residency you don't really get, you do get times where you may get a full weekend off, but it's a lot more rare, I feel than the longer blocks. He gets typically 3 weeks, not all at the same time, but throughout the year, there's 3 weeks that he will have off. And so those tended to be the times that we always just dedicated to go to see my family, just because of the time. But now as he's transitioning to having more time and less shifts, I feel we'll be able to see family a little bit more often. I don't know about my side, but I feel we'll be able to see his side a lot more often just because they're a little bit closer, and hopefully we'll see mine maybe a little bit often too. But then we also have to factor in vacations. If we want to go on a vacation as a family, that's something we didn't do in residency, but now that's something we plan to do. We have to put that into account as well, with also trying to visit family too. And then if we want to have a vacation just us, we have to put that in there as well. So that's all stuff that you should consider when it comes to having to make a trip to visit your family. And if possible, try to have them come to you, because we've done that for
we did a few
holidays. Where we had everybody come to us.
It was tight.
Make sure you have the space. We had space was not that great, but we made it work. And so if you can do that too, where you have the space and can have people come to you, even if they can't stay with you, I would try to do that as well, because then that takes off a little bit of pressure as far as you having to always make the trip too.
Right. And if you have family that's there with you, that's just even better. I mean, you have easy access. You got easy babysitting or whatever. They can just kind of call them up and go hang out whenever you want to. That's also really good, again, if you're a spouse that's not working, staying at home. That's also beneficial because, again, you're not by yourself. You have assistance, especially if you have kids. So yeah, it's good from that standpoint. And another thing that we like to do during holidays is also flipping it each year. So if one year we went to my parents' house for Christmas, the next year we would try to go to her parents' house for Christmas. And same thing with Thanksgiving. We would try to alternate, really, so somebody's not feeling left out and shafted in their abilities, because people have their favorites. You know, some people like Christmas the most, some people like Thanksgiving the most. So just in order to make it even, we just alternate it to kind of keep it even from that standpoint.
And then originally we would do that, like, you know, we would go to one side and then we would go to the other side. But towards the end, we tried to start, which it did work out, but we tried to start getting everybody to come together if they were okay with that. Because I know some people like to be at their house for holidays and stuff, but we did, that worked out well too. So then, you know, when you have a child, like how we have Naya, nobody felt like, you know, for example, at Christmas, nobody felt like, well, I didn't get to be there for her first Christmas or her first Thanksgiving or whatever. Everybody got to feel like they were included and nobody was left out or anything like that. So try to, I mean, I know some people don't, their families don't get along,
just
but
kind of depends.
If yours do, I would say to try it out and see what happens, because it may be something you can keep doing, you know, in the future. Even if you don't do it every year.
It's a win-win.
You can, like, you know, from time to time, try to throw that idea out there too.
And another thing that will help with family dynamics is setting boundaries. So boundaries can be set in many different instances, whether it's family just showing up on your front doorstep unwanted. Make sure that you set boundaries in terms of making sure people call before you get over here. Another thing could be kind of financial boundaries in terms of making sure family's not asking for money necessarily in certain situations. That can be a big area of stress in some families. Again, people think, oh, you're a doctor now, you can afford to give me money for whatever it is. Make sure you set boundaries from that standpoint as well.
I mean, even like, I don't want to make it sound like you can't give family money, but like use your discretion on who the person is and your relationship and the amount of money that it might be. But you don't want to like enable somebody. Like, you want to help your family, of course, because you love them and you care about them and all. But if it's like, I almost said somebody's name, not even trying to talk about the person. I was just trying to think of a name. But if it's like Uncle whoever that you've never talked to or you've hardly ever seen ever, that just came to you like, hey, I need $5,000. It's kind of like, I don't know.
We're good on
that's going to work. So like, you just have to consider the source of who the person is, what they're asking you for, your relationship, and all of that. There's nothing wrong if you feel led to help a family member out, but don't feel like it's required of you to do that as well.
Right. And when you do make that decision to help a family member out, don't do it as a loan. You're not going to get that
coming
money
back.
It's a gift. Just
it is not coming
count
back.
Count it as a gift and move on. Because if not, it's going to be some strain. It's going to be, oh, every time you see him at Thanksgiving, Christmas, it's like, you got my money? You got my money?
So yeah, just again, set your boundaries with that. Like, okay, I'm going to help this person this time, but I'm not going to help them, you know, after this point. Or if you've helped them like 3 times already, it's like, okay, you know, like at some point you got to learn how to like do this on your own.
Right.
So that's where boundaries definitely can come into play too. Thankfully, like TJ was saying, I mean, we haven't had any like serious issues where we've had to really put any boundaries in place. But if you feel like there's an issue that you have, like put some form of a boundary in place. I don't know. That's something I hear a lot of in some of the Facebook groups I'm in. Like people complain about like this aunt so-and-so or my cousin this or whatever. And it's like, y'all, just like
say no.
It's
easy.
And then decide you're not going to do this from like going forward.
And if they decide that they want to end a relationship because you said no, then I mean, it's not your fault. like it's time to wipe your hands clean of that if that's the situation. One more other thing is make sure that you are careful what you share with family. Again, during residency, during your training, all that kind of stuff, things come up. You have issues between each other, different things of that nature. Make sure that you are not sharing all of these type of events with family, because again, a lot of times the next time you see them, it may just so happen to slip out of their mouth and just get thrown right in your face.
Don't share all the details.
Yeah.
Because like naturally you know, like something happens, I might call my mom or he might call his dad or whatever. But like you don't go into detail like, well, Jasmine did this, blah, 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 and she spent this amount of money and now we're in this. And I did not. But like family doesn't forget. Once you and your person like resolve your issue and you move on and you're good and move past it, your family hasn't forgotten about it, especially your parents. Like, because your parents look at you as their child. Like, sure, even though our parents love both of us, they still are like, this is my child.
Yeah, like if I mess up, it's like,
if you do something to their child, even though you're married, it's like, it's kind of hard for them to get past that, even though you already might have gotten past it. So I would just say not to share too many details.
Right.
If not anything at all, try to just keep it between you two, because more than likely you're going to work it out anyway. Right. And like be done with it in a day, and then you know a year from now that family member's still sitting over there looking at you like I remember when you was blah blah blah. So you don't want that. Will cause problems if you didn't have them already. That will cause them to like be there.
Yeah, so those are just a couple of tips that we have when it comes to kind of dealing with family dynamics. So thank you guys for watching. Again, we also have an Instagram page that is at Marriage in Medicine, the letter N. So feel free to go and follow us on that as well. Again, see you guys in the next video.